Hello and welcome to the December 2025 edition of our Global College Spotlight, the final spotlight of this year. Each month, we introduce you to an excellent university outside of the United States where students can earn a full undergraduate or graduate degree entirely in English. Today, we are highlighting the University of British Columbia, one of Canada's top universities, with campuses in Vancouver and the Okanagan. UBC offers a world-class education in a country known for its safety, diversity, and natural beauty. Many of UBC's programs include co-op placements and research opportunities, which allow students to gain practical experience while earning their degree. As always, today's Global College Spotlight is brought to you by Global College Advisors. And just in case you're new to our Global College Spotlights, I'm Cornelia Betschart-Fortes, founder of Global College Advisors, and I'm excited to be your host today. So before we explore what the University of British Columbia has to offer its students, I would like to introduce our presenter, Ashley Fulop. Ashley is an international student recruiter and advisor with UBC's global recruitment team, and she is also the US West Coast regional representative. Ashley promotes UBC at high schools across Southern California, Colorado, and Arizona, and supports students in the application process. Based in San Diego, she ensures that students can easily connect with UBC's vibrant campus community, like current students and also professors. That way, students can get a real sense of what life is like at UBC. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Ashley. I'll stop sharing my screen and the presentation is all yours.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Here, let me share my screen. I can pull up the slides as well. Awesome. Can you see that all right?
Perfect, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. It's such a pleasure to be here today. My name is Ashley Fulop, and I'm based regionally out in San Diego area. And so if there's any students in that area, they're more than welcome to come and reach out to me, and we can kind of talk further about UBC as well. Before starting off this presentation, UBC, we had kind of mentioned, has two campus locations, and I want to acknowledge that our Vancouver location is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people, and that we respect the traditions and the customs of the Silk Okanagan nations in which the UBC Okanagan campus is located. When you visit UBC, you may hear about our efforts in land acknowledgements, which is what I've just done, but I also highly encourage you to learn more about your traditional lands, as that's something that you'll be expected to learn if you decide to join UBC in the future. When you're thinking about UBC, we are an internationally recognized, but also an internationally renowned degree. And so when you're thinking about where that ranks within kind of the world, there's over 25,000 universities across the world, and UBC consistently ranks within the top 50 research universities. That really showcases that academic excellence piece, being one of the 0.02% universities in the entire world, and just knowing that no matter which academic focus you choose, excellence is really going to be within it. We do have over 260 undergraduate programs that students can choose from. That can be things like our most popular programs within engineering, our business commerce programs as well, maybe things within our Bachelor of Science like biology. I know that for lots of students in Vancouver, our film production studio is really, really popular as well because of how big film is in Vancouver. Or maybe if you're looking more at that Okanagan campus location, I know our nursing program's really strong as well because there are actually AI dolls there that you do hands-on learning practice with. So just knowing that academic excellence happens within any of our undergraduate programs themselves. If you're interested, we do also have dual degree options. I know one that's been coming up a lot this year is with Sciences Po. And so if you're interested in doing a Bachelor of Arts, maybe in political science, you could do that dual degree program with us as well. So knowing that we do have lots of options, and in the future, you'll see lots of different pages and websites too. Really recommend checking out our programs page. That's where you're going to get a really good sense of all of our academic programs that we offer. And knowing that no matter which one you choose, one of the biggest things that UBC likes to highlight is our active learning pieces. It's really a way for students to enhance their time at UBC, and we truly do believe that learning is an experience that happens outside of the classroom. So that could be hands-on learning opportunities like our urban forestry students that actually get to do field work in our Malcolm Knapp Research Forest. They do 4-day expeditions where they actually learn how to do like field measurements, site diagnoses. And so it's really important for students to get that hands-on learning opportunities. So that's one of the many ways that we do it. But in these next couple of slides, we're going to talk about ways that we enhance through those active learning pieces. I think the one that's most popular with UBC tends to be research opportunities. Given that we are a research public university, research is at the core of everything that we do. We actually have students that say that faculty members want you to get involved within your very first year of your undergraduate programs. They can help you for things like conference presentations or even getting published within their research assignments as well. So if you want to get involved, great ways to do it. It's also just tied into that coursework piece too. So we actually have students in our engineering. There's a materials engineering major here at UBC, and they're actually working in conjunction with Lululemon to create sustainable fabrics. And those are actually being sold in our bookstore. And so you can get Lulu branded gear that's created by our UBC students with that sustainable fabrics itself. So great ways to kind of come full circle and kind of give back to the university too within those research opportunities. So knowing that that's a great way to get involved. The next way that you can kind of get involved, in which I really appreciate you talking about the co-op opportunities, it is those different work experiences that we have. You can do co-op within your second year. Students have to be within their major itself to apply to our co-op programs, but students can actually do up to 5 different semesters of co-op with UBC, which means working with 5 different companies in your area of study, and that's paid experiences as well. So when you're doing your co-op, you're not paying tuition during that time. You're actually just getting paid for that work. And because you're building up your resume in such a way where you're actually trying new things in your field, getting that work experience, 90% of our co-op students get a job offer within a month of graduation. So it's an amazing return on investment and really helping you with kind of what your future entails, which is why you're going to college for your future careers. This next way to kind of supplement your education while you're with UBC is through study abroad opportunities. We have what's called Go Global, so it's a great way to maybe do exchange programs. There's over 240 different opportunities for you to go to another university, take those courses, and then bring back those credits. Or if you don't want to do a full semester abroad, we do have programs over the summertime, which are called global seminars. Global seminars are a way where UBC faculty actually choose a location that enriches their classroom environment. So we have a Spanish language program that happens in the Galapagos in Ecuador. And so that's somewhere where students are actually able to practice the language every single day. They get to learn about the culture as well. And so that's just one of the many Go Global programs that you could choose from to kind of supplement your time at UBC directly. And what we like to say is that what you become at UBC is really entirely up to you. If you're really excited about those research opportunities, you can really get involved in those. If you're really excited about co-op opportunities, you can kind of create what you want at UBC. Our motto is actually Tum Est, which means it is yours. And so it really truly is your decision about the things that you want to join to supplement your time at UBC itself. And no matter what you choose, your UBC degree will be the same at any campus you choose with us. So our 2 campus locations are within Vancouver and Okanagan. Your degree is the same from both of those, but the biggest difference is going to be your experience on those campuses directly. I like to start off with our Okanagan campus. That it has about 10,000 undergraduate students on the campus directly. I know that in the US, that's considered maybe a mid-sized university or institution, but for us, it's a really tight-knit community feeling within it. What's amazing about it is one of our student ambassadors, my very first time on campus, actually gave us this thing. She was like, it usually takes us 20 minutes to walk across campus, but can anybody tell us why it usually takes me about an hour every single time? And she was like, it's actually just because you run into so many people that you know walking through the campus, whether it's other students, students, faculty members, people from club organizations. And so that's what I mean by really tight-knit community at our Okanagan campus. Also, we do have some pretty niche programs on the Okanagan campus because it has one of the largest freshwater lakes in all of the BC area. And so we have a freshwater sciences program on the campus directly where you can actually work with that lake experience. Or, like I had mentioned earlier, our nursing programs, or even an entire Bachelor of Sustainability if you're interested in things like environmental science, for example. And when you think of our Okanagan campus, it's actually located in the city of Kelowna. Kelowna is an amazing town. It's one of the fastest growing cities in all of Canada. It's really renowned for its fruit, its agriculture, the wine industry out there. It does have all four seasons, so if you enjoy things like paddleboarding on this lake, or maybe skiing or snowboarding over the winter times, it's a great way to kind of explore those different areas. I know that the Okanagan Valley is the larger area where Kelowna, the city, is located. And so when you're thinking of where those different names come from, that's also part of it as well. And when you're thinking of our two campus locations, I always like to talk about the distance between the two of them. So when you're thinking about joining UBC, you do have to choose between the two campuses because it is about an hour flight away from the two, or maybe a 4 to 5 hour drive if you decided to do so. And so you couldn't wake up early in the morning at 8 a.m. for a class in Kelowna and then drive over to Vancouver for your evening class. That would be way too much to do to yourself. So that's why you have to kind of choose between the two. Our Vancouver campus is really known as a city within the larger city of Vancouver itself. It has everything you could possibly need from grocery stores to nail salons, hospitals. There's restaurants and theaters. There's museums that are on the campus. So really anything that you could ever want is going to be there. One of my favorite places on our Vancouver campus is actually the UBC farm. The UBC farm has a true like farm to table experience where students are actually growing things on that farm, and then we harvest the produce and actually use it in our dining halls on the cafe and on campus directly. And because Vancouver is on the Pacific Ocean, there are actual kind of coastal lines right off of the campus directly, and that's why we have some pretty niche programs on the Vancouver campus too, like oceanography, for example. So when you're thinking about our two campuses, just making sure that the program that you want is on the campus that you want to study as well. When you think of Vancouver, the campus, you also really want to explore the greater Vancouver area itself. It is the third largest city in all of Canada, and it's a very international city. There's lots of languages being spoken, amazing different food opportunities, but one of the coolest things, in my opinion at least, is its proximity from sea to sky. So when you're thinking about your proximity to the ocean all the way up to the mountains, students say you could wake up early in the morning, go skiing or snowboarding in the mountainside, still have enough time to have dinner within our city and catch the sunset at night on our beaches itself. So when you're thinking about your ability to kind of go and explore, it's an amazing opportunity to do so. And when you're thinking of kind of those campus life pieces, no matter which campus you choose, we do have opportunities to enrich that campus life with us and kind of find your sense of community and find folks out at that university experience itself. Something that we're extremely proud of is that we're the most international university in all of North America, with over 18,000 international students from over 140 different countries. That really means that in your classroom experience, you're learning from other students' lived experiences. You get to meet people maybe from places that you've never been to. And so it's a great opportunity to make new friends and kind of enrich your time at UBC. In my opinion, the greatest way to find your sense of community is through our housing opportunities. We do have a first year guaranteed housing, and so that doesn't mean it's required. You don't have to live on campus if you do not want to, but we highly encourage it. What we see is that students that live on campus tend to have higher GPAs, they get connected to our campus resources a lot faster, but then they also find that sense of community a lot quicker too. What's amazing is that most of our rooms are single rooms. At UBC, at our Okanagan campus location, 100% of your rooms are singles. At our Vancouver location, it's about 80% singles and 20% double rooms for us. So when you're thinking about what that living experience will be like, you're usually going to have more space to yourself. If you're thinking about living off campus those next 3 years, which is usually the trend that we see, most of the locations have pockets of neighborhoods that are very heavily student populated. So still walking distance to campus, no matter if you choose Vancouver or the Okanagan. But if you decided to live a little bit further away, you do actually get a student bus pass with your enrollment to UBC as well. So you can utilize our bus systems for free, which is a great way to kind of explore the areas, but then if you wanted to live further from campus as well. And then other ways to kind of enrich your campus experience is those club opportunities. We do have over 500 different clubs between our two campus locations. That can be either cultural and religious clubs that we have, maybe club sports, for example. We actually have something as niche as an ice cream club on our Okanagan campus, where what they do is actually bring free ice cream to campus. I hear it's actually the fastest growing club in all of UBC history, and I do think that the free ice cream is part of that experience as well. But we highly recommend for students to get involved as much as possible, find their sense of community through it. What's pretty fun is that we actually shut down the university on your very first day of classes and fill an entire street up with those club organizations so you could see all the different opportunities, join those clubs right then and there, and kind of make that sense of community as well. In terms of athletic opportunities or going out within the university, we do have amazing athletics. If you're comparing us to a US university, we don't have the NCAA. In Canada, it's called varsity. And so varsity is still extremely competitive. We've had over 60 something Olympic medals won throughout our varsity athletes. And what's great is it's similar to the NCAA where you have to get recruited by the coaches to play for the teams. But if you also just want to experience that campus culture, cheer on other students, I know our women's rugby team's amazing. It's a great way to kind of get involved in that same way with those athletic opportunities. We also have amazing competitive club sports, or maybe more that fun intramural, which is just you playing against other university students on campus and kind of making those friends with us too. And then, kind of this very last thing when we're talking about the opportunities on campus directly is going to be health and wellness. When you're thinking about those opportunities for staying healthy and safe on campus, that's something that's extremely important to UBC. We do have opportunities through our Center for Accessibility, for example, which is for students to be able to have maybe accommodations in and out of the classroom for students with disabilities. We have our Safe Walk program, which is an opportunity for if you're studying late at night, for example, you can call up somebody and they will actually walk you from the library to your residential hall, for example. But my favorite one, and the one that's actually pictured on this screen, is our BARK program. It's a way that during high stress times, like maybe finals or midterms, for example, we bring in emotional support animals to help decrease stress. This actually all started with someone's research assignment to see how emotional support animals can decrease stress during high stress times. So a great way for you to help maybe someone's research, but then also pet puppies here on campus when you're a little bit stressed out as well. And so I recognize that's a lot of information about what UBC can offer you. We're going to take just a little bit of time within these next couple of slides to talk about our application steps and those deadlines and how that works for UBC directly. One of the biggest things when you're thinking about applying to UBC is that we're not on the Common App. How it works in Canada is that we actually have application services by province. So for UBC, we're on what's called Education Planner BC. So if you're applying to other schools in this region, they would also be on that. When you're applying, you do have to think about which campus location you want to study at and making sure that you're choosing the right location for which degree you want to study at. The other really important thing to know is that when you're applying to UBC, you're applying more to a general area of study rather than a specific major with our campuses. So that could look like something of a Bachelor of Arts, for example, a Bachelor of Science, our engineering programs, our commerce programs. And then after your first year at UBC, that's when you're applying to a specific major. So say you choose Bachelor of Arts and then you apply to your history major afterwards. So when you're looking at our options, you're going to choose your campuses as well as choose your degree. And then to make it hopefully not too confusing, we actually get your top two choices with UBC. So that can either look like two academic programs on one campus location, or maybe one academic program on both of our campuses. So, for example, say that you are fully set on studying engineering at UBC. Your number one choice could be engineering at our Vancouver location, and then your number two choice could be engineering at our Okanagan campus. Those will get evaluated completely separate from each other. And you could get into one of the programs or maybe both of them, and then it's up to you to decide how you want to join UBC, but knowing that you're studying what you want to study with us. The other option could be, say, maybe you're stuck between maybe a Bachelor of Science or maybe engineering, but you know you want that small campus feeling at our Okanagan campus location. You could say your number one choice is engineering at the Okanagan, and your number one, two choice is a Bachelor of Science at the Okanagan campus location, knowing that if you get into one of those two programs, it's at the location that you want to study at. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm seeing some nodding, so hopefully it's clear within that process itself. Just knowing that for our international students, January 15th is the one and only deadline that you have to memorize for it directly. And when you're thinking about those admissions requirements that we have, academic performance is going to be a huge portion of that. A really great indicator that you'll be successful in college is that you were successful at the high school level. So we do put a pretty heavy emphasis on years 11 and 12. And the reason for that is that most of the time, that's when students are taking courses directly related to their area of study. And so we do put a heavier emphasis on if you're interested in engineering, you should probably be taking courses that are within those physics areas or chemistry, because that's really going to indicate that you're ready for those next steps within our engineering courses directly. But we don't like to think of students as just numbers on a screen. And so that's why we also have what's called the supplementary information for UBC through our personal profile. So we do a very holistic review of our applicants. The personal profile is a way for UBC to learn more about you directly. So say if you're used to the Common App, you know how there's that one long essay? For us instead, it's short answer questions, usually between 50 to 200 words in response. We're not looking for bullet points. We do want very academic writing within them, but we're going to look for very similar themes, things like leadership opportunities, ways that you stand out, what have you learned. You get to actually talk about activities that you've done throughout your time in high school as well. And so knowing that we get to learn a little bit more about you, and it's a combination of that personal profile and your academic performance in order to get into UBC directly. The other piece when you're looking at this slide are those video interviews, portfolios that may be required. That depends on your degree area of interest. So, for example, the video interview comes within our commerce program. So, if you're interested in our business program, you do have to do a secondary application, which is a video interview, very similar to applying to a job and kind of having that interview portion there. They're really just helping students kind of get prepared for that before starting our program directly. For portfolios, you can kind of expect that maybe more in our fine arts programs that we have. So, like maybe that film production, for example, would have a portfolio requirement. But just knowing that each program will have their own specifics. And in these next two slides, I'll kind of talk about how you can find that information. But when you're thinking about how your kind of application itself gets reviewed, just knowing that it's very competitive at UBC, but it's also comparative. So if you're applying to our engineering program, you're not going to get compared to a student that's applying to our Bachelor of Arts, for example. It's only to those students applying to engineering. And so just knowing that you're going to be evaluated based off of those courses that you're only doing as well. And then we're going to go through two very specific types of curriculum. First one going to be with the International Baccalaureate or IB programs. Knowing in order to get into UBC directly, you do have to complete the full IB diploma to be considered. But then when you're thinking about degree-specific requirements, this website is really the one that I've been wanting to refer to. It's this you.ubc.ca. You can actually go in and filter by academic programs that you're doing. So you can do it for the International Baccalaureate. And then you could say you're interested in engineering. It will pull up those specific engineering courses that you would have to be taking within your junior and senior year. Usually it's something related to those physics and chemistry courses. And then knowing that if you're taking HL and some SL courses, you could actually get first year credit with UBC as well. So that's kind of how it works for the International Baccalaureate. For those students that maybe aren't doing that program, but they're just doing the typical US American curriculum, knowing that those general requirements typically include 4 years of English literature or composition, as well as 3 years of mathematics up to an Algebra 2 level. That's just the general requirements to apply to UBC. Then we have degree specific requirements also found on that same website, but what you can do is actually filter it by the US American curriculum. And for example, if we're using that engineering as an example again, you would have to take maybe some AP courses to be eligible for that program directly. That could include something like AP Physics 2 or C, AP Chemistry, as well as pre-calculus as our minimum requirements for it. So really making sure that you're checking that website to see those degree-specific requirements. The other piece is that if you are taking those AP courses and you decide to take those exams, you do get first year credit with UBC for exams of 4 or 5 for those scores directly. I also like to mention during this portion when we're talking about the application process that the SAT and ACT are completely optional in order to apply to UBC directly. And when we say test optional, if you do not submit those scores, they will not negatively impact your application. If you decide to submit those scores, they will be used in review of your application directly. And so they could help or they could hinder it depending on what our averages are that year. I know last year for the SAT it was about a 1350 for most of our programs, but for engineering it was a 1400 because that is one of our more competitive programs that we had at our campuses. And also, in talking about the application processes, I think it's really important to talk about the cost of attendance and kind of budgeting for your first year as well, because going to college is a huge investment for students. And so, when you're thinking about cost of attendance, typically when you see the dollar symbol for UBC, that's in Canadian dollars. With our current exchange rate, this is us kind of moving it over, we do estimate costs for you. So for tuition and fees, our living costs include things like your housing as well as food. And then those additional costs are things that we estimate. So not something you have to pay to the university directly, but for things like travel, maybe buying clothes, for example, buying books. And so your all-in cost for your first year would be about 49,000 USD or about 50,000 USD per year. That is just without any scholarship opportunities. We do have many scholarships available to international students, and I think the most popular one tends to be merit-based. And so that's something that students actually don't have to apply for in any other capacity. They just apply to the university by January 15th, and they're automatically considered for these merit-based scholarships. These typically range between 10,000 to 25,000 Canadian each year to help decrease your cost of attendance. And knowing that about 1 in 3 to 1 in 4 international students receive a scholarship of that merit-based capacity with UBC. The other type of scholarship that we have is a merit and need-based scholarship. So the International Scholars Program is a highly competitive program for students where we're looking for things academically, but also throughout their extracurricular experiences, maybe leadership, and it is an additional application. If students are interested in this ISP or International Scholars Program, they do actually have to apply much earlier to UBC and much earlier to the program itself. The ISP application is due by November 17th this year, but typically mid-November for that deadline, and then they have to apply to UBC by December 1st. This is really something that students have very high academics, but need a very high amount as well. So it's a high need, high merit for those students. You do actually have to get recommended by your high school counselor as well for the program. And so just knowing it is a very competitive scholarship, but it's great because UBC can actually cover the rest of a student's need when they're applying to UBC directly. Those are the two main forms of scholarship opportunities at UBC. But I also like to mention that we're a Title IV institution. And so if students are eligible for the FAFSA, for example, they can utilize that at UBC as well. But it's really for things like student loan opportunities if they want help in covering kind of those cost of attendance pieces. This is kind of one of our ways to connect with UBC as well. We do have tours on both of our campuses in person, but we actually have virtual tours that happen as well. Our student ambassadors are the ones that actually lead those different campus tour opportunities, so it's a very authentic student experience directly. You can do things like meeting one-on-one with me. I put on Zoom appointments for students, or if you're in my area, we could go and get coffee at some point in time. But we really highly recommend for students to explore our campus in some capacity if they have the ability to do so. But that is my big presentation that I have for y'all. This is the kind of main slide that comes back to my information too, but I'll stop sharing and pass it back over.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That was an amazing presentation. Here on this last slide, you can see the contact details for University of British Columbia in case you want to connect with them or just learn more about their programs. And you'll find all that information right here along with my own. So while we have that slide up, I have a couple of follow-up questions for you, Ashley. You gave a great overview about how the application process works and what they need. So if a student really wants to study at UBC but doesn't really meet all the requirements yet, is there something like a foundation year that they can, or like a pathway program, something like that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, unfortunately, there's not a pathway program if someone's not meeting our minimum requirements to a specific program itself. Something that sometimes students do, but we don't necessarily recommend because it's not a guaranteed pathway. But say maybe they're not meeting our Bachelor of Science requirements, they could apply to a Bachelor of Arts and in their first year complete those Bachelor of Science requirements at UBC and apply to the Bachelor of Science program later on. The only thing is that's not a guaranteed process. They're still applying to that Bachelor of Science, almost like a transfer student would to UBC, and so it's not a guaranteed. So if a student is going through that pathway, I'd also highly recommend for them to be really happy with the Bachelor of Arts program that they chose to.
Oh, okay, but that's great information. That's good to know. So within that admission picture here, how is a community college like via dual enrollment seen within the admissions process?
Definitely. Yeah. So if students are doing dual enrollment courses, we can actually take those for first or second year credit as well. We do have an amazing website for students. So if you go back to that programs page, you can actually type in transfer students. There's a transfer page where students can actually put in courses that they've taken at their community college. And if we've had students that have completed that or those credits have already been articulated, they could see exactly how they transfer to UBC. I always like to note it's not comprehensive by any means. So if your class isn't on there, it just means there's not a student that's done it in the past.
Perfect, perfect. And then another question in this area. Is it possible to defer to do a gap year, for example?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I know that the gap year process is possible with UBC, but I'd have to look into the details a little bit more, and I'd be happy to send those to you via email, exactly how it works, because I know that it is kind of a more complicated process for
Oh,
students.
okay, okay. Then my last question, oh, actually two more questions.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Does UBC offer summer programs for high school students that want to get maybe a first glimpse, not only at university life, but explore what UBC is all about?
Definitely. Yes, we have an amazing program. It's called Future Global Leaders, and that is a summertime program for students to come to campus, explore the campus itself, take classes with us too. I know that students get a really worthwhile experience at Future Global Leaders, and I'd be so happy to kind of send those links out too.
Yeah, that would be great, actually. What's the application deadline for those?
Yeah,
Because
it's something
sometimes it goes very fast, right?
definitely. Yeah, here, let me pull up the Future Global Leaders. I don't know it off the top of my head. I apologize.
No worries, no worries.
Let's see here. Eligibility is a 3.5 average. Um, Like for 2026, the application's not available yet.
Okay.
But for 2025, it was due in February.
Oh, okay. So just keep an eye out for that if you're interested in
Yes.
applying to one of the summer programs. Great. And then my last question, when you were talking about the dual degree programs, I saw something online that caught my eye. You have an accelerated bachelor's and master's degree. How does that work?
Do, yeah. So for many of our programs, you would be doing 4 years in your bachelor's degree. I think one of the most popular is kinesiology, for
Oh,
example.
I
You
see.
could do a 4-year bachelor's degree in kinesiology, but then you add on one extra year to get your master's of management as well. So you can
Oh.
indicate in the application process that you want to do both of those programs and then be accepted into it. But what's great is that you get an accelerated master's degree. And for those kinesiology students, it's usually because they want to maybe run their own practice, for example. And so having that master's of management is very, very helpful in the process. It is offered in things like our engineering programs, for example, or maybe our Bachelor of Arts as well. So you can add on that master's of management to many of our programs.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. And that happens after the fourth year, so that you just can basically transition into the master's right away, or do you
Exactly.
do classes parallel? So not parallel.
It's not typically parallel. You're usually
Mhm.
doing them within that 5th year.
Okay, fifth year. Okay, awesome. Well, that is it from my side. Thank you so much again for giving us this insightful look into the University of British Columbia and for sharing the many opportunities available to students at UBC in Canada. So, as we wrap up this year's Global College Spotlight series, I want to thank all of you for joining us throughout 2025. As you know, our Global College Spotlight series continues each month, and we are already working on an exciting lineup of new universities from around the world that you will hear from in 2026. If you want to revisit today's conversation or explore previous Global College Spotlights, you can do so anytime on our website or on our YouTube channel. And with that, I look forward to welcoming you back here in January 2026 for another year of inspiring Global College Spotlights. Thanks for watching and see you in 2026. Bye.